What the light showed me wasn't about the fall of the church. It was about what happens when faith turns into performance and love is replaced by control. I was 47 when I died, and I thought I knew what faith was. My name is Catherine Rose Whitmore. I lived in a town called Ashwood, nestled between rolling hills and forgotten highways, where church bells still rang on Sunday mornings and neighbors still waved from porches painted white. It was September 22nd, 2023, at 2:43 in the afternoon. My heart stopped for 14 minutes. 14 minutes where I saw everything the church will face, everything that's coming, and I came back changed, marked, unable to stay silent. Before we go any further, I need you to do something with me. Right now, close your eyes, take a breath, and whisper the word light, just once, softly, like a prayer you've never prayed before. If something stirs inside you, something you can't name, then stay. Because what I'm about to share isn't just my story. It's a warning, it's a promise, it's a revelation. The light still speaks. And when I died, it spoke to me in a language I'd spent my whole life forgetting. I was a Sunday school teacher, 19 years at Grace Valley Community Church, a building with red brick walls and tall windows that caught the morning sun like liquid gold. I knew every Bible story by heart. I could recite verses while folding bulletins, lead prayer circles with my eyes closed, organize potlucks in my sleep. I was faithful, or so I thought. I wore cardigans and modest skirts and smiled at everyone and said yes to every committee, every bake sale, every mission trip fundraiser. My life was structured around the rhythm of church. Sunday mornings, Wednesday nights, Friday prayer groups, Saturday service projects. I loved God. I truly did. But somewhere in the routine, somewhere between the programs and the performances, I stopped feeling Him. I stopped listening. I became efficient at faith, professional, polished, but empty. My husband, Thomas, was a deacon. We'd been married 26 years, and from the outside, we looked perfect. The model Christian couple. We sat in the third pew every Sunday. We tithed exactly 10%. We hosted small groups in our living room with coffee and store-bought cookies. But at home, in the silence between scheduled activities, we barely spoke. Our conversations were transactional. Did you pick up the dry cleaning? What time is the elders' meeting? Can you lead prayer tonight? We moved around each other like polite strangers, careful not to collide, careful not to ask the questions that might unravel everything. Our daughter, Emily, was 23. She'd left the church 3 years ago. Stopped believing, she said. Or maybe stopped pretending. I didn't know which hurt more. She moved to the city, got a job at a coffee shop, and called once a month out of obligation. I prayed for her every night, prayed she'd come back to the faith, but I never asked her why she left. I was too afraid of the answer. The house smelled like lavender potpourri and old hymnals. The walls were cream-colored. The silence was heavy, thick, like a blanket I couldn't kick off. I filled the quiet with Christian radio, with worship playlists, with podcasts about living your best blessed life. I stayed busy because stillness felt dangerous. Like if I stopped moving, I'd have to face the emptiness, the loneliness, the quiet terror that maybe I'd been doing this all wrong. September 22nd started like every other Friday. I woke at 6, made oatmeal, read my daily devotional while the coffee brewed. The devotional was about trust, about surrendering control. I remember reading the words and feeling nothing, just going through the motions, just checking the box. I drove to the church at 9 to prepare for Sunday's lesson. The parking lot was empty. The air smelled like cut grass and rain that hadn't fallen yet. I carried my bag of craft supplies into the building, and that's when it happened. The pain came like lightning, sharp, sudden, a fist squeezing my chest from the inside. I dropped everything. Glitter bottles and construction paper scattered across the tile floor like confetti at a funeral. I tried to call out, but my voice was gone. I fell against the wall, sliding down slowly, and the world tilted sideways. I could see the cross at the front of the sanctuary, wooden, simple, hanging there like it always had. I stared at it as my vision blurred, as my heartbeat slowed. I thought about Emily, about Thomas, about all the prayers I'd prayed that felt like they'd bounced off the ceiling. And then I thought nothing at all. The world went dark, but the darkness wasn't frightening. It was soft, gentle, like being lowered into warm water. I couldn't feel my body anymore, couldn't feel the floor beneath me or the air in my lungs. I was weightless, suspended, held by something I couldn't see but could absolutely feel. And then, slowly, the darkness began to glow. It started as a pinpoint, a single spark in the infinite black, and then it grew, expanded, became something alive. Not just light, but presence. I wasn't alone. I'd never been alone. The light moved toward me, and I should have been terrified, but I wasn't. I felt known, seen, every secret I'd ever kept, every judgment I'd made, every time I'd chosen appearance over truth, religion over relationship, performance over presence. The light saw it all, and it didn't turn away. It came closer, wrapped around me like arms I couldn't see. And I wept, not with fear, with relief, with the overwhelming realization that I'd spent 47 years trying to earn something that was already mine. The light didn't speak in words. It spoke in feelings, in knowing. In truth poured directly into the core of my being, and the first thing it said was this: "You've been so tired, Catherine, so tired of trying to be enough. Rest now. Let me show you what's real." I wanted to speak, to ask 1,000 questions, but I had no voice, so I thought the words instead. Why am I here? What is this? The light pulsed, warm and steady, and I understood. You're here because the church you know is about to change. Not because I'm punishing it, but because it's time. Time to strip away everything false, everything built on fear and control and empty tradition. You need to see what's coming. Not so you'll be afraid, but so you'll be ready. And then the light pulled me forward, and I was no longer in darkness. I was standing in a place that felt like the sanctuary of my church, but vaster, infinite. The pews stretched endlessly in every direction. The stained glass windows glowed from within, casting colors I'd never seen before. Purple that tasted like hope, gold that felt like forgiveness. And I saw people. Thousands of them. Millions. Some were praying, some were weeping, some were singing. And some were silent, heads bowed, hearts breaking. The light showed me the first vision. I saw churches with doors chained shut, parking lots overgrown with weeds, signs faded and cracked. I saw believers meeting in secret, in basements and living rooms, whispering prayers like they were contraband. I saw fear in their eyes. Not fear of God, fear of each other, fear of being discovered, fear of losing everything. The light's voice was gentle but firm. "Do you see, Catherine?" I nodded, though I didn't understand yet. The light continued. The world is changing, and the church that refuses to change with it, the church that clings to power instead of love, will be left behind. I saw governments turning against the faithful, not with violence at first, with laws, with policies, with slow, systematic exclusion. I saw pastors arrested for preaching truth as they understood it. I saw families torn apart over doctrine. I saw denominations fracturing, splintering, collapsing under the weight of their own pride. And I saw something worse. I saw believers turning on each other, accusing, condemning, dividing over politics, over masks, over whose interpretation of Scripture was right. The church wasn't being destroyed from outside. It was destroying itself from within. Tears streamed down my face, though I had no body to cry with. I wanted to look away, but the light held me there, made me witness. "This is what happens when my people forget the first commandment," the light whispered. "Love, above all else. Love. When the church chooses power, it loses me. When it chooses control, it forfeits freedom. When it chooses judgment, it abandons grace. What you're about to see will hurt, but it's necessary. The refining fire burns away everything that isn't real, and what remains will be beautiful. The light showed me the second vision, and this one pierced me. I saw a small gathering of people in a dim, cramped basement. No stage, no sound system, no polished worship team, just voices, raw, off-key, achingly sincere. They sang with tears running down their faces, hands lifted not in performance, but in surrender. They had nothing. No building to protect. No reputation to maintain. No budget to balance. They'd lost everything the world said mattered. And they were radiant. The light around them was brighter than anything I'd ever seen in my perfectly organized, climate-controlled sanctuary. "These are the ones who will remain," the light said, and I felt the words like a heartbeat. Not because they're perfect, not because they have all the answers, but because they've lost everything except me. And they've discovered that I'm enough. They will love when love costs them everything. They will forgive when forgiveness seems impossible. They will serve without recognition, give without receiving, worship without audience. And through them, I will build something new, something that looks nothing like what you've known. I watched them embrace each other, pray over each other, share their last pieces of bread with each other. And I realized with stunning clarity that this messy, broken, beautiful gathering was more church than anything I'd spent 2 decades building. We'd been so focused on growth strategies and programs and keeping people comfortable that we'd forgotten what we were supposed to be. A family, a refuge, a place where the broken could come and find healing, not judgment. Where the lost could come and find home, not rules. The light moved again, and I was shown the third vision. I saw technology. Screens everywhere. Glowing blue faces in darkened rooms. I saw sermons streamed to millions, but no one gathering, no one touching. No one looking into each other's eyes and seeing Christ there. I saw isolation masquerading as connection. I saw people consuming content about God, but never encountering God. Never sitting in silence, never wrestling in prayer, never bearing another's burden because they didn't even know their neighbor's name. The light's sorrow was palpable, pressing against me like a physical weight. They've forgotten how to be present, how to be together, how to suffer with those who suffer and rejoice with those who rejoice. The digital age is a gift, but it's also a test. Will they use it to unite or to divide? Will they use it to love or to judge from a safe distance? I saw the church becoming more fractured, more polarized, more consumed with being right than being loving. I saw comment sections filled with venom. I saw believers destroying each other's reputations over theological disagreements. I saw the name of Christ weaponized, twisted, used to justify cruelty, and the light wept. I felt the tears like rain, like an ocean of grief for what his people had become. I wanted to scream. I wanted to defend us, but I couldn't, because I'd been part of it. I'd judged. I'd excluded. I'd chosen my version of truth over someone else's dignity. I'd been so certain I was right that I'd forgotten to be kind. The fourth vision came like a tidal wave, and I nearly broke under the weight of it. I saw a magnificent cathedral, stone arches reaching toward heaven, gold-leafed altars, stained glass depicting saints and martyrs. But it was empty, completely empty. Dust covered the pews. Silence filled the halls. And outside, the world was on fire. Not literal flames, but the fire of rage, of division, of violence. People screaming at each other. Nations at war. Families shattered. And the church, the one institution that should have been a refuge, was silent. Locked inside its beautiful building. Too afraid to speak. Too compromised to stand. Too concerned with survival to remember its purpose. The light's voice was quiet now, almost a whisper. When the church aligns itself with earthly kingdoms, it forfeits the kingdom of heaven. When it seeks power, it loses its soul. When it becomes indistinguishable from the world, It has nothing left to offer the world. What is coming will strip away every false alliance, every compromise made out of fear, every doctrine twisted to serve politics instead of truth. The fire will burn it all away, and it will hurt. But from the ashes, something pure will rise. I saw the cathedral crumble, stone by stone, and I saw people walking away from the ruins, not in defeat, but in freedom. They carried nothing but each other, and the light was with them, not contained in a building, not confined to a ritual, but alive, present, moving. Then the light showed me the fifth vision, and this one shattered me completely. I saw a little girl, maybe 7 years old. She was standing in an open field, arms stretched wide, face turned toward the sun, laughing. Around her, others began to gather, young and old, black and white, rich and poor, gay and straight, immigrant and native. All the categories we'd used to divide and exclude, erased. They had no building, no program, no pastor in charge, just the light. And the light moved among them like wind, like fire, like a presence so real it was tangible. They danced, they wept, they sang songs I'd never heard, in languages I didn't know, and somehow I understood every word, because the language was love, pure, unfiltered, unconditional. This is what's coming, the light said, and joy flooded through me. After the falling away, after the institutions crumble, after everything false is burned away, a church that looks nothing like what you've known. A church without walls, without hierarchy, without the need to be right or to win or to control. Just people who've encountered me and can't help but love. They'll be mocked, persecuted, marginalized, but they won't be moved, because they've tasted something real, and nothing else will ever satisfy them again. I fell to my knees in that infinite sanctuary, and I wept, not tears of sadness, tears of longing, tears of repentance, because I saw myself in every vision. I saw my empty faith, my performance-driven devotion, my need to appear righteous instead of being real. I saw all the times I'd chosen comfort over truth, religion over relationship, judgment over grace. And I cried out, though I had no voice, "Forgive me. Forgive us. We forgot. We forgot you. We built monuments to ourselves and called them churches. We created systems to control people and called it discipleship. We chose to be right instead of being loving. Forgive us." The light moved closer, wrapped around me, held me like a father holds a child who's been lost and finally come home. And it spoke words I'll carry with me until my last breath. You are forgiven. You've always been forgiven. But now you must go back. You must tell them. Tell them what's coming, not to frighten them, but to prepare them. The church will face its greatest trial and its greatest transformation. Those who survive will be the ones who learn to let go, to release control, to stop performing and start being present. Tell them to stop building empires and start building relationships. Tell them to stop seeking power and start serving the powerless. Tell them to stop judging and start loving. Tell them I'm not looking for perfect people. I'm looking for honest ones, broken ones, ones who know they need me. The institutions will fall. The programs will fail. The buildings will empty, but I will remain. I will always remain. And I will be found by those who seek me with all their hearts, not in the spotlight, not in the applause, but in the silence, in the suffering, in the least of these. Tell them to look for me there, because that's where I've always been. The light began to fade, and panic seized me. I didn't want to go back. I wanted to stay in that place, in that presence, forever. But the light was firm. Your work isn't finished, Catherine. Your song isn't over. You have to go back and sing it. Sing it for the ones who've forgotten the melody. And then I felt it. The pull. The violent, painful re-entry into flesh and bone and breath. I gasped, my lungs filled with air like shards of glass. I heard voices, urgent, Afraid, someone was pressing on my chest. I opened my eyes, and I was staring at the ceiling of the church. The cross was still there. The craft supplies were still scattered. But everything was different. I was different, changed, marked forever by what I'd seen. I spent 5 days in the hospital. Thomas sat beside me, holding my hand, his face gray with worry. Emily flew home. She sat on the edge of my bed, and for the first time in 3 years, we really talked. I told her everything, every vision, every word the light had spoken. She cried. So did I. And she said something I'll never forget. "Mom, that's the God I've been looking for, not the one at church, the one you just described." When I was discharged, I came home to the cream-colored walls and the lavender potpourri and the silence. But I couldn't go back to the way things were. I couldn't pretend anymore. The next Sunday, I stood in front of the congregation. My hands were shaking. My voice was unsteady. But I told them everything I'd seen. Some people cried. Some looked angry. Some walked out. The pastor asked to meet with me later, concerned about my health, about my theology, about the disruption I was causing. But I didn't back down. I couldn't. I'd seen too much. In the weeks that followed, I stepped down from every committee. I stopped teaching Sunday school. I stopped organizing events. I started meeting with the people who stayed, the ones who wanted something real. We gathered in my living room on Tuesday nights. No agenda, no curriculum, just presence. We shared our doubts, our fears, our failures. We prayed with tears. We confessed our sins to each other. We practiced forgiveness. We learned to be honest. And slowly, something beautiful began to grow. Not a program, not an institution, just connection. Real, messy, beautiful connection. Thomas joined us. He said he'd been faking it for years, too. Emily started coming. She brought friends who'd never set foot in a church. And the light was there. I felt it every time we gathered. In the laughter, in the tears, in the silence between words. It's been 18 months now. The church I used to attend is smaller, quieter. Some people left, angry that I'd disrupted their comfortable faith. But others stayed, hungry for something real. And new people came. Broken people, doubting people. People who'd given up on church but not on God. We've stopped worrying about numbers and started worrying about each other. We've stopped performing and started being present. We meet in homes now. We share meals. We bear each other's burdens. We celebrate each other's joys. We're learning to love without conditions, to serve without recognition, to worship in spirit and truth, not in ritual and routine. And I've never felt closer to God, never felt more alive, never felt more free. The visions I saw are already beginning. I see churches closing. I see institutions crumbling. I see believers being marginalized, mocked, excluded. But I also see the remnant rising. The ones who've lost everything except their faith. And they're beautiful, radiant, unshakable. They're loving when the world teaches hate. They're forgiving when culture demands revenge. They're serving when everyone else is scrambling for power. And the light is with them, moving through them, transforming the world one act of love at a time. This is what's coming. Not a religion, not an institution, but a movement, a revolution, a return to the heart of everything Jesus taught. Love God. Love people. Everything else is commentary. For a moment I stood between heaven and earth, and I understood both. Heaven isn't a place we go when we die. It's a presence we carry when we're alive. It's choosing love over fear, grace over judgment, service over power, connection over comfort. And the church isn't a building. It isn't a denomination. It isn't a set of doctrines or rules. It's people. Broken, beautiful, beloved people who've encountered the light and decided to reflect it, no matter the cost. What's coming will be hard. The institutions we've trusted will fail. The systems we've relied on will collapse. We'll lose everything we thought mattered. Our buildings, our reputations, our comfort, our control. But in the losing, we'll find what we've been searching for all along: presence, connection, love, the real, raw, unfiltered presence of God. Not mediated by programs or rituals, just God and us and each other. And that will be enough, more than enough. If this story reached your soul, write light below. Not for me, but to show that the light still speaks. Subscribe and stay in this journey, because the next story might be the one written for you. What I saw wasn't meant to scare you. It was meant to wake you up, to prepare you, to invite you into something real. The church as we've known it is changing. But the church as God intended it is just beginning. Let go of what's comfortable. Release what's familiar. Stop performing and start being present. Stop building kingdoms and start building relationships. Stop seeking power and start serving the powerless. The fire is coming, but on the other side of the fire is everything you've been longing for. A faith that's real, a community that's honest, a love that costs everything and gives everything. And it starts with you, right here, right now. In this moment, close your eyes, whisper light, and let the transformation begin. The light is still speaking, and it's calling you home.